What you're about to see isn't magic, and it isn't a one-size-fits-all solution. This video is built on historical research, practical observation, and educational exploration. It is not medical advice, and it does not make any absolute promises about results. Every home is different. Every environment is different. Ant species vary by region, by season, by climate. What works powerfully in one situation may work differently in another. Some applications may be subject to local regulations or safety considerations, so always check what's appropriate for your household, especially if you have children, pets, or individuals with sensitivities. We're here to explore forgotten, practical knowledge, not to sell you a miracle. Think of this as a conversation between two people who believe that simpler, older solutions deserve a fair look in a world that's gotten very complicated and very expensive. Somewhere in your kitchen right now, there may be a trail you haven't noticed yet. A thin, almost invisible line moving along the baseboard, behind the refrigerator, under the cabinet corner. And if you've ever woken up to find your countertop covered in ants, you know that feeling. That low-grade dread, that helpless frustration. You spray, you wipe, you seal. And by morning, they're back, like they were never gone. What if the answer wasn't a $40 can of chemicals? What if it was sitting in a bag at your local dollar store? Something so ordinary, so overlooked, that most people walk right past it without a second thought? That's exactly what this video is about. One powder, $1, and a method that goes back further than most people realize. Stay with me, because by the end of this, you're going to look at your ant problem in your pantry very differently. Picture ancient Egypt. Not the pyramids, not the pharaohs, but the granaries. Massive stone rooms filled with grain that fed armies, cities, entire civilizations. And inside those granaries, a constant war, a silent, crawling war against insects, against the kinds of pests that, if left unchecked, could rot a civilization's food supply from the inside out. The Egyptians didn't have aerosol cans, they didn't have synthetic pesticides, but they had something that worked, and it wasn't complicated. They used earth, specifically a type of fine powdery earth that cut through insect exoskeletons like invisible glass, drying them out, disrupting them, eliminating them, without fire, without poison, without risk to the grain itself. That substance has a name most people recognize, but rarely think about. Diatomaceous earth. But here's where it gets interesting. This isn't some obscure compound discovered in a modern lab. Diatomaceous earth is the fossilized remains of tiny aquatic organisms called diatoms, microscopic algae that lived in oceans and freshwater lakes millions of years ago. When they died, their silica-based shells sank to the bottom of ancient waterbeds and accumulated over geological time into thick, chalky deposits. Today, those deposits are mined, milled into fine powder, and sold, often for less than $1 per application, at garden centers, hardware stores, and dollar section bins across the country. And yet, most American homeowners have never used it, or if they've heard of it, they've dismissed it. Because in a world of high-tech pest control with smart traps and chemical barriers, a bag of white powder seems almost laughably simple. That's exactly why it's worth talking about. Now let's talk about the science, because this is where the story gets genuinely fascinating. When an ant, or any soft-bodied or exoskeleton-based insect, makes contact with diatomaceous earth, something very specific happens. The fine particles, which are microscopically sharp, work their way into the joints and soft tissues of the insect's body. But more importantly, the silica absorbs the lipids, the waxy, protective coating that keeps the insect from dehydrating. Think of it this way. An ant's body is like a water balloon wrapped in a thin, waterproof shell. That shell is its survival system. Without it, moisture escapes and the insect desiccates, dries out within hours. Diatomaceous earth essentially strips that protection. Not through chemical toxicity, through physics, through moisture absorption, through a mechanical process that insects cannot adapt to or develop resistance against the way they can with chemical pesticides. That last part is important. Researchers and agricultural experts have noted that one of the growing challenges with conventional pest control is resistance. Insects evolve, they adapt. What kills one generation may be less effective against the next, but you cannot evolve against a physical process. You cannot build resistance to having your moisture stripped away at a microscopic level. This is one of the reasons why, according to various agricultural and environmental research communities, diatomaceous earth has remained a topic of genuine practical interest, not just for home use, but in organic farming, stored grain protection, and certain livestock applications. And here's what matters most for you, sitting at home, staring at an ant trail along your kitchen wall. Food-grade diatomaceous earth, and this distinction is critical, is classified by the EPA as generally recognized as safe for use around humans and pets when applied correctly. It is non-toxic in the way that most conventional pesticides are not. It does not linger in your soil as a synthetic chemical might. It doesn't create vapor. It doesn't off-gas into your air in dangerous ways. It just works, quietly, slowly, and in many cases, remarkably effectively. But here's where most people stop looking, and it's costing them results. Application matters enormously. Diatomaceous earth works through contact and through disruption of the moisture barrier. That means it needs to be dry to be effective. The moment it gets wet, from humidity, from spills, from outdoor rain, its mechanical properties are diminished until it dries again. This is a critical limitation that most people who have tried it and felt it didn't work simply failed to understand. The other mistake? Using the wrong kind. There are two primary types of diatomaceous earth: pool grade, which is chemically treated and used in pool filtration systems, and food grade, which is the version appropriate for household use. Pool grade diatomaceous earth has a significantly higher crystalline silica content and should never be used indoors or around people or animals. Always use food grade. If you've ever dealt with an ant problem, whether it was a minor nuisance or full-scale invasion, I want to hear about it. Drop a comment below and tell me what state you're in. Ant behavior, ant species, climate conditions, these all vary massively across the country, and I read every single comment. Your experience might genuinely help someone else watching this video right now. If this is the kind of practical, forgotten knowledge you want more of, hit that subscribe button. We put out videos on exactly this, real-world, budget-conscious, historically grounded solutions that the average American homeowner can actually use. No fluff, no gimmicks, just knowledge. Now let's get into the actual step-by-step, because knowing the science is one thing, but using it correctly is everything. First, identify the trail and the entry points. Ants don't wander randomly. They follow chemical scent trails laid down by scout ants. Before you apply anything, spend 5 minutes just observing, where are they coming from? Where are they going? Look for cracks in baseboards, gaps around plumbing, spaces beneath door frames, or any point where the wall meets the floor. Second, purchase food-grade diatomaceous earth. This is widely available at hardware stores, garden centers, and many dollar stores. A small bag is often under $5 and can last for multiple applications. Again, food grade only. Check the label before you buy. Third, apply a thin, dry layer. More is not better here. A thin, almost invisible layer along entry points, behind appliances, along baseboards, and in the corners where you've observed activity is the goal. You can use a small brush, a makeup brush, a dedicated duster, or simply a spoon to lay a light dusting. The powder should be barely visible. A heavy pile is actually less effective than a fine, even layer. Fourth, do not disturb or wet the treated areas. This is where patience matters. The process takes time, anywhere from a few hours to 24 to 48 hours, depending on traffic levels and ant species. Some homeowners report seeing significant reduction within a single day. Keep the area dry and undisturbed. Fifth, reapply after any moisture exposure. If you're treating an area near a sink, or if humidity is high, or if the treated area gets wet for any reason, the powder will need to be reapplied once it dries out completely. Sixth, address the root cause. Seal food in airtight containers, fix any moisture issues under sinks, and caulk visible entry points. This will compound the effectiveness of any treatment and reduce the likelihood of future invasions significantly. Here's the honest part, and you deserve it. Diatomaceous earth is not a magic bullet. It is a tool, a genuinely useful, historically grounded, budget-friendly tool, but it has real limitations. Severe infestations, especially those involving carpenter ants, fire ants, or colonies that have established deeply within wall voids or structural wood, may require professional assessment. Diatomaceous earth works best on surface-level trails and entry points. Climate matters too. In high humidity environments, coastal regions, the Gulf Coast, parts of the Pacific Northwest, maintaining dry application areas can be genuinely challenging. Certain ant species may also be more difficult to address with this method alone. Red fire ants, for example, have complex underground colony structures that may not be significantly impacted by surface-level applications. Research the specific ant species common to your area to set realistic expectations. And finally, if you have respiratory sensitivities, apply with care. While food-grade diatomaceous earth is not toxic, any fine powder, when disturbed and inhaled in quantity, can cause irritation. Apply in low wind conditions, avoid creating large dust clouds, and if you're particularly sensitive, a simple dust mask during application is a reasonable precaution. The world is full of solutions that got quietly set aside, not because they stopped working, but because they stopped being marketed. Diatomaceous earth didn't disappear because it failed. Over time, as newer and more heavily advertised products filled store shelves, older approaches like this one simply became less visible in the everyday conversation. But the knowledge didn't go anywhere. It's in agricultural extension documents, it's in organic farming guides, it's in the practical experience of homeowners who tried it, were surprised it worked, and passed the tip along quietly. That's what Fix Survival Secrets is built on. Not trends, not hype. Knowledge that holds up, that has roots, and that puts practical power back in your hands. One final reminder before you go. Everything in this video is for educational and informational purposes only. We are not licensed pest control professionals. Results will vary based on your specific situation, ant species, climate, home structure, and how consistently you apply these methods. If you are dealing with a serious infestation, particularly one involving structural damage, please consult a licensed professional. Do your own research. Cross-reference what you've learned here, and trust your judgment about your own home. If this video gave you something useful, something you didn't know before, hit the like button. It genuinely helps this channel reach people who are looking for exactly this kind of information. Subscribe if you want more. We're building a library of practical, grounded knowledge for the American homeowner who believes that self-reliance isn't old-fashioned, it's essential. In the next video, we're going to talk about another dollar store find that has a surprisingly deep history in home protection, one that most people have in their homes right now and have never thought to use this way. You won't want to miss it. Stay curious, stay prepared, and we'll see you in the next one.